Record to this
So probably
computer.
because... Okay. Now.
Recording. I'm recording.
So good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon to you, good morning to me. This is the third session of our online presentations regarding the Blended Intensive Program that Carinthia University of Applied Science will organize in March. And we have here the coordinator also, Julia Marinaccio. Today we're going to welcome Miss Monica Broido from the University of Tel Aviv in Israel. She's going to speak to us about something very, I will say, hot regarding the impact of AI in scientific writing. A lot of publication and a lot of kind of surveys, reports are releasing every day about the impact of AI in scientific writing and in writing in general. So a few things about Monica. She's a head of the writing programs and head of languages other than English at Tel Aviv University. She's a board member of the European Association for the Teaching of Academic Writing. She has a master's degree in education from Tel Aviv University. And also she's our coordinator in a cost action that we have very recently submitted. And we wish to have a good luck and success in order to discuss about the impact of AI in higher education and scientific writing, for a longer period and involving more people. So, Monica, thank you very much on behalf of me, on behalf of Julia, on behalf of KUAS, as the coordinators of our BIP, that Hellenic Mediterranean University also participates as a partner. The floor is yours in order to start your presentation. You will have around 30-35 minutes, and then we're going to have discussion with the participants. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Kostas and Julia, for inviting me. So let me just share my presentation. So I will speak briefly about, let me just close this, about how we see, or I see, the writing today. Wow, sorry, this keeps moving. At Tel Aviv University, especially with graduate students. So Tel Aviv University is a youngish university, not in Israeli terms, but in European terms, meaning that it was only established in 1956. So a little bit about us. It's a big university. We have 9 different faculties with 125 different schools and departments in all of these faculties. And even like my division is not part of a faculty, so that includes that. We have over 30,000 students at all levels, from undergraduates to postdoc students, and we have over 1,200 researchers across all the disciplines. Of course, it is a Hebrew medium university, but we do have a sizable number of international students in 15 different international programs. And this is important because, as you know, English is the publishing language, so that we put a lot of emphasis on writing in English because we are in a country that values innovation. We are what we call Israel the startup nation, and there's a very strong connection between the universities and the high-tech industry, meaning many of the industries were born as projects at universities. So we are interested in continuing that so that we have very new state-of-the-art facilities in AI, but in many other sciences as well. And we have connections to venture capitalists, and there's a startup engine inside the university that helps young researchers promote their research to become startups. There's a lot of interdisciplinary work. For example, we have the Sagol School for Neuroscience, in which it's a school composed of people coming from different disciplines, from the life sciences, from chemistry, from psychology, and other things as well. So there's a lot of cross-talk also between the different departments. And because of that, we also offer many flexible programs, especially at the PhD level, when students can tailor their own research and have PIs from different places to fit their goals, and we allow all that. So that, I think that's very interesting and probably not always so common. But why English, as I said? Well, because there's a lot of competition out there, as you know, and not just that, but around 2010, we saw the rating of Israeli universities go down, and the university was worried, what can we do to help this, awful situation? And a big proportion of the rating is, of course, the publication in high impact journals. So they thought it would be a good investment to have PhD writing courses and programs all around to help our students write better so that they're more effective and efficient and hopefully ethical in their publishing, and we can get the ratings up. And indeed, our ratings did rise, so that I'm happy about that. But it's not always easy because English is not the native language of our students. Most are Hebrew speakers, but 20% of Israel's population speaks Arabic natively. And we have many, many new immigrants from many countries. So that English is a second, third, or fourth language, so that complicates things. And the PhDs, as you all know, also have issues, meaning students start, they don't always finish, and they don't always know what to do with rejections from journals and how to revise well the comments that they get. So we figured that these courses could free up the advisors, the PIs, time to focus on the content, key messages, and we would help the students deal with the writing better and become better writers. And this writing aspect is also good later for their professional development. And as you will see in our courses, we don't just do writing, so that we hope that our students come out with strong communication skills because, again, of this high-tech bubble that we live in. So because of the 2010 falling rates, we started in 2011 with a pilot program of 5 PhD courses, and they apparently went very well because they now let us have courses everywhere. We have 13 courses in different faculties and schools at all levels, basically PhD level, but not only. And in the future, and we're constantly doing this, we want to improve and adapt to the constant evolving needs, both of the different fields and, of course, to the new reality of AI. So what are our writing courses? They are composed of both class sessions. Once a week, I meet students in class and we talk. It's a flipped course. They see videos of me, basically, talking about the principles of writing the different sections of the IMRID article. But we also have time to meet with students individually on their own writing projects. So that is great. So we work according to the IMRAD structure, except in the humanities where they have a different structure. So we work according to their requirements. And we talk about the general principles, both in the writing, but also because it's in English, the function of tenses and the types of vocabulary that you need, etc. That's a minor point. And we start by having a model of the different sections, and then students bring in 3 good articles from good journals where they hope to publish recent articles in their field. So then we teach them how to analyze and see how each journal likes to present each section and how they talk about it, so that they can then be better prepared to publish in that journal. And then they write a 1 or 2 page section, which I give feedback to, and then they revise it and upload again and get more feedback. So there's a constant loop that is going on in the different sections. And we also have a strong element of peer review, where students peer review each other's work, both the oral component, as you'll see, and the writing components as well, which we believe is very important. Not only do students get another viewpoint and different comments, but it's very good for the reviewer. They learn to see things that they can apply then to their own writing. But we do all the kinds of writing too, because scientists today don't just write articles. We do what we call professional writing for academics. That includes grant writing and or cover letter or personal statement for future positions. Let's say people want to do a postdoc. So we deal with this type of writing as well, which is very different from scientific writing. And we deal also with intercultural communication. Israelis tend to be very direct and very short when saying things. So other people find us rude. We're not rude. We're just very direct and very quick. So we teach students to, write a little more and sandwich their remarks and all these other important things that people outside of Israel need in order to accept what we're saying better. And within science, also do science communication, meaning, for example, they have to write a description of their research story for the university magazine that goes to the donors. So it's meant for lay people. How do they talk about their research in layman's words? And that's extremely important. Part of my research is I'm in touch with um, companies, high-tech companies, and we uh, ask them, what they need language for and how they're doing. And many times the companies tell us that they lose contracts because the engineers cannot communicate effectively with the marketing people, and they cannot talk to people in other countries well, and there are many miscommunications. So we talk about how to do this well as well. So it's a very full course, and we do not just writing, but we also teach them some important oral skills. For example, how to give an elevator pitch of their research, how to present the figure. Let's say for a poster, you have a couple of figures that are key things. How do you describe them so that, with a narrative arc, so that it makes sense and you connect people to what you're doing? And of course, we also give a small academic presentations, such as they do, because they do need to go to conferences. So we try to do it all within one semester, and it's not easy, but I think students get a lot out of it. So what is the point of AI in all of this? So AI erupted into our lives in the 30th of November 2022, which was the end of the year. And since then, the strides it has made are enormous, not only in it, but also the impact it has had for us. Because a major part of being a scientist is writing your research. And how does AI play with it? So we talk about this a lot in the course from the first day. And at the beginning, I'll talk about what happens in my class. We start with an AI tool list of all the different tools for all the different functions, because they all know ChatGPT, and so they all talk about ChatGPT, but there's a lot beyond that. So we discuss that a lot. We also have an online resource course entitled The Principles of Academic and Scientific Writing. And that is intended for people who do not get a course. Like I said, we only have 13 courses and we're a huge university. So not everyone gets the benefit of this course. So I created an online course that lives in the Moodle site of all the graduate students and all the faculty members of the university, so they can, let's say, PIs can refer their students to the course to get insights on how to write the different sections. And we have AI bots embedded in it to help guide students, and I'll show you in a moment, to help guide students through it and also to give feedback on their writing. In addition, we have a writing center that gives support to students. So even after they finish the course, or if they don't have a course, they're welcome to come to this center and get individualized support for all their writing needs, whatever they need, and beyond writing for all their communication and language needs. So let me show you this list. I can share it with you. It's not something I created. It's something that was shared with me. But I added new stuff because I had the updated in December 2024 version, and since then there have been changes. So we see that there are things for different tools for different functions, and we have also, how much it costs and which ones are free and available for students. And so, search engines, which we know and which are good for literature review. Research Rabbit, for example, is outstanding and still free. And it does so many things that it's wonderful. And all of these others are free as well, so that you don't get these invented sources, and you get a nice overview of what is available. For example, Research Rabbit also creates a map so that you know who is close to whom, who cited whom, who's related to whom. It's lovely. And we also have more literature review tools that are more common. They're huge, like Elicit and SciSpace, which I imagine all of you know. We use those all the time. And also Reading Assistant. How do you take all that literature and make it easy for yourself to understand where all these past research is going from? And a way to chat with these PDFs. There's Google's Notebook LM that you can input up to 50 different sources, not just PDFs, but also online sources and videos, and it extracts the information from there, and you can have a chat with it, and you can integrate things, and it even creates a podcast with that material so that you can listen to these ideas in a very nice and conversative manner. We have writing assistants. Most of these are paid, but they're nice, and that's beyond the general AI apps that we all know and maybe love, because they don't create as much disruption as these guys. These guys tend to be a little more inventive, even though you can regulate the temperature. They're still trained on very general data, so that they don't always know scientific writing and jargon and style well, but they're nice for other stuff, and they do everything basically. And then we have, other minor things, including non-AI things such as the reference managers, which are still very important. And we talk about that. So what do I do with all of this? I give it to students and I said, look, this is crazy. There's so much, and there's many more coming in every day. Like, for example, this past week saw the surge of DeepSeek, the Chinese AI that apparently is surpassing everything on every benchmark, and it's free. So what we do is we try them out and we compare them, and then we share the knowledge with each other, and we share new tools if that were the case. So that's how we start. And at different points in the course, we talk about the different tools. For example, when they present figures, we talk about the tools that can create figures and what is good, what is not, what you need to take into consideration, etc. So we have a deep investigation of all of these. And if somebody discovers a new tool, they add it here, and they can also give recommendations, something they found out about a tool. So it's very nice. So that's the tools. And we also have, like I said, this online writing course, and it's a Moodle course. I'll show it to you. Okay, here it is. Sorry, we have a slow Moodle. It's a big course. It looks like this, and it's not a linear course, meaning that you don't have to go through all of these before you write, but it's intended to be a resource so that if you're writing the results now, you can just go into the results, for example, like this, and you see a little video of me giving the main principles of what it takes to write a good results section, and then they can practice. We give them a sample, and then they hear me analyzing the sample, so then they get the language and the viewpoint of what it takes to look at this section and see what's going on, not just content-wise, but how people write this, how they highlight different things, how they give importance to some things and how they deduct importance of other things, how they deal with problems that they might have had, etc. And then we give them like a checklist of things to look for within the results section of articles within their field. And then they have their personal tutors. And this is I created these different bots for each section, and I fed them, a knowledge base of the video and the PowerPoint I use in the video, and some vocabulary things that I find important that they use. And then they can just go in and get help. So if they click here, we have a disclaimer. I built these bots with Poe. Poe is a commercial bot site. So we don't know what actually happens behind the scenes with this information that students put in. So we wrote a disclaimer about how they shouldn't, share any personal and sensitive information. Many times, especially for my engineering students, I have to sign non-disclosure agreements because they're working on very sensitive things that, cutting edge, and the first one who publishes wins it all and the rest lose. So they don't want these things to go out. So they should be aware that even though it's in Moodle, it's not our own server and we don't know what happens to this. So, any input you provide may be stored or processed, and so they have to agree. And when they agree, they get to PO. And sorry, here it starts with questions that you can ask, how should I start with the results section? Or, for example, I have here something that one of my students shared about she's writing the discussion section for her thesis, which was a publication thesis. And so she starts by telling the background of it. It's a collection of 3 papers and what each paper is about. And she asked how she should structure this. So, of course, it's pretty much obvious, but then it says, but before I help you structure, let me ask you a few questions so that we know where we're going, okay? Because structure isn't everything. So would you say there's an overarching theme or progression connecting these 3 papers, which of course there is, yeah? And so once it brings it to awareness, she can see it more clearly and she can then create this overarching narrative. And for each paper, what would you consider to be the most important finding? So narrowing it down to the most important contribution of each paper and the sub-projects, okay? And then it goes on to talk about the structure, which is not a very surprising structure, but still that's what she asked for. So this is what it gets. Begin with a brief restatement of the overall research objectives and a synthesis of the key findings, how they build upon each other, because there's a progression, of course, and what are the broader implications and any limitations or challenges and future direction. So this is, again, an obvious structure, but again, she asked for it. And then she had already written something. So she said, okay, so in light of this, can you help me restructure? So she wrote what she had written as the conclusions for each of these articles. And then it reads and it actually understands much better than I what this is about. So it tells her, yeah, emphasize the progression from basic 3D structures to complex networks and stimuli responsive systems. And then the major achievements. So it really, understands and it can give. And then she said, no, but I want feedback. So it doesn't rewrite. And that's something that's important because I try to create GPTs in Chat GPT and I could not rein it in. It kept rewriting for students. So when students said, give me feedback on this text, it said, let me show you a revised version of your discussion section. And I didn't want that. I wanted to give students the tools to be able to write and understand the issues clearly. So it provides feedback, it clearly described this and, areas for improvement. And it's not too chatty. Should we have also questions or comments in the middle and not just at the end? Now that I'm showing you these things.
Usually at the end, we have the
Usually
discussion.
at the end? Okay, so let's wait till the end. And like I said, we also have our center where we give individualized support for students, past students, even faculty members, and even administrative staff. We also work with other institutions in Israel. For example, the Weizmann Institute of Science. They send their students to us instead of creating their own center. There's a center that's a train ride away. Let's just send our students there, and that's what we do. We also work, of course, on Zoom. So it's very easy to get support from us. So after all of this that we're doing, what does that imply and what does it mean for us? So in my classes, like I said, in November 30th, 22, that's when OpenAI released this amazing chatbot that was called ChatGPT 3.5. And less than 2 weeks later, it appeared in my classroom. So luckily, I like all of these new innovations. So I had already played with ChatGPT and I sort of started understanding the types of responses it got. So I could see immediately the students had used it. So we use that as a jumping board to how is it that you use it? What do you use it for? What types of prompts? Because way at the beginning, prompt engineering is this huge thing. What kinds of prompts do you do? How do you build it? What kinds of responses, etc. And students shared their own vision and their own use. And then the um, the year after, we had joint investigation of these AI trials with the students. We tried things out, and people shared what they did and how it used and what they learned and how it could be used better, etc. And then that same, in the fall of that year, we created this list and also a presentation with these things. And we felt that students didn't yet trust it. They used it, but they double checked it, or they used it to write, but they weren't so sure. So it was very cautious use, which is actually very good. And in the spring of that year, there was still cautious use. They used it, but didn't trust it fully. This semester, that's the coming semester after this, AI suddenly is so ubiquitous. Everyone has it. Everyone uses it for everything. So that I feel that students have become lazy. They no longer check the output so much, just trust it, because it's so nice and shiny and it produces such beautiful sentences that many of my feedback comments kept saying, but this is obviously written by AI. It has no substance, because they use Chat GPT, they use the big engines, despite of all the work that we've done in the class checking the different tools. So it's very superficial. And so I keep, prompting them to give more substance, more details, more numbers, more proofs for all that they need to do, and then they do it. And even I feel it has become unethical because it's just so common now. They peer reviewed each other's conclusions. So not only did the people use it to write the conclusions, people used it and just input it into the tool and asked for, feedback on these conclusions, which it's okay if they decide they want to input their material into the AI and take, those risks into consideration, but it's so not okay to input somebody else's material without asking permission. So we had a big session of ethical and unethical use and what is expected and what is not, and what journals say about ethical use of AI when you give reviews, etc. So we reviewed that as well. I hope the message went in. So in general, what can we say are the benefits of AI in writing? Well, you know that, it can make things more efficient because certain things can just be automated, and it helps with the preliminary draft because it organizes things well with a lot of repetition, so it needs a lot of cleanup and rethought, but at least it helps, that first jump into it. It's easy, and once you have something to work from, it's easier than starting from scratch. And because it takes care of all these surface issues and all the writing issues, it allows the PIs to focus, and the writers, of course, on the more creative and complex aspects of the research, without having to focus so much on the writing and the language, etc. It gives more accuracy because it can help detect errors and inconsistency in your data and in what you write about your data that we may not have seen. It can work with very large databases. For example, now I'm working on an article where we asked many, many people about their writing centers across the world. So we got many responses with all of these descriptions of everything they do. So it was very easy to collate that data now and to see trends and to see different characteristics with AI. And because AI performance improves over time and it learns you once you're signed in, it becomes more reliable and better for your specific use. And it increases clarity, as we all know. It's very good with language. It writes beautifully. It simplifies complex language so that it doesn't sound so tight. And it can, again, in the language, it can say, this is not so clear. Can you rephrase, or you need to add more detail, etc. Um, and but there are many drawbacks to this, as we all know. It isn't that great yet, meaning that if there are any figures of speech, of idioms, it doesn't always understand it well. And especially it doesn't always understand jargon and scientific context very well. So it doesn't always provide reliable answers to what we want. Most of these big engines were trained on the internet, so they're not trained on specific scientific articles. And even if they are, the engines that do work on academics, they're biased towards the life sciences and medicine and less on humanities, social sciences, and other areas. So that's an issue that I imagine will be resolved in the future, but we're not there yet. And we have, of course, the problem of over-reliance, which is what I saw with my students, okay? They just take it and don't critically evaluate it. They just, oh, this was produced, so it's probably okay, and that is not good, especially not for scientists. And we, because they're machines, they may not be able to do things that were outside the box that haven't been done before. And we look for innovation and creativity in scientific publications, so that we don't want to just trust the machine to make all these connections. We want to be able to do that for ourselves. And they can't, verify the accuracy of their own output. So that is still left to humans to do. Um, Also, because they have bias, and we know that bias grows with time, the more that you run this, it also learns, like I said, but also the biases get greater because you're feeding it the output of AI, which becomes the input of AI, which becomes the output, so that it becomes this closed circle, and that becomes a problem. And sometimes they're not inclusive or representative. For example, SciSpace, one of those engines that has scientific knowledge, again, and illicit, more like life sciences, they use the newer papers. And, we want also sometimes um, foundational research and well-cited papers, and that's something that Google Scholar's algorithm does well. So that maybe we can combine the use of both, and that's what I tell my students. Okay, use these tools, but also go to Google Scholar, which they know, because that algorithm seems to work well for our purposes of being good scientists. There are, of course, ethical concerns, as I just mentioned with my students. Also, these tools tend to make up things and lead to misinformation, or just insert points that may not be so um, accurate, and so that it generates more bias. So it can create, again, and manipulate data wrongly. So we need even a greater degree of integrity now that we have these tools to be able to trust the articles that we publish. So what can we do? We hope for more transparency and disclosure, meaning authors should explicitly declare their use of AI. Many journals ask this. Okay, you should say how you used it, what you used it for, and these guidelines should be part of most journals, which they now probably are. And AIs are not co-authors, even though they come up with good ideas that, my co-author didn't think about and the AI did. It should be used to assist, but not replace us. And we still need to, of course, critically review and balance that critical thinking and fact changing with the output that we get. We should hopefully still invest in developing the writers, not just the writing, especially in non-native speakers, meaning what problems do they have? How can we develop them to enable them to become better writers, and thereby have the better critical thinking skills to be able to judge the AI output well? And how do we talk to these machines so that the output that we receive is the best that we can get? And we need ethical frameworks. They're being created in many places. Many are still not in place, and they're not the same. And even if there is, let's say, regulations within a university, different departments interpret them differently. At least that's the case with us. So we need clearer policies and guidelines, and maybe more startups that can detect over AI use or fake news or something like that, bots that check bots, so that we don't have these biases so strongly. Kostas and I developed this survey that I would love if you guys could take and maybe ask your students to also fill out. It would help us greatly understand the picture of what is going on within academic research and the teaching of writing and of research. So I will send this to you, or Kostas will send this to you, but please take a look and answer. These are my references, and thank you very much. I hope that I did it within the time frame.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm keeping the time. So please stop sharing the screen.
I did.
No, because I can see you. Yes, I can see you. Of course.
You mean not the...
Sorry about this. I'm using my iPad, and I was thinking to look at the others at the same time. So, Julia, how do you want to proceed? So now the time is for the questions. So please, raise your virtual hand. I have some questions.
Me too.
You too. So, Julia, the floor is yours. Thank you.
No, let's give the floor to our audience, and we jump in if necessary.
Yeah. All right. So if there are any questions, please raise your virtual hand. Up to 3. 1, 2, 3. Pass. Julia, the floor is yours.
No waiting time.
We don't have no waiting time. That's why.
It's okay. See, Tatiana has a question.
Tatiana, thank you. Direct the point.
Just 2 seconds more. The people can react. Oh my God.
My fingers are not so fast, unfortunately, as Kostas can talk. So, Monica, thanks so much. It was really great. I liked also your approach, how you present it, and what are you pointed all out. So it will be not really the question in this way, just in the moment, but between others, I know that is everything recording, but also your slides will be somehow available, because there you have some of
the sources
and so on, where it's much easier if we are looking through this.
Sure.
And might be really a question. Do you have the lecture like that, or even the course for your PhD students, or also other? Because these are so practical things, also for writing papers and everything, or you prepared this just for us?
No, not this. These slides were prepared for you. But like I said, we integrate all of these tools and all the discussion of the tools and trial of the tools within the course, within the PhD scientific writing course.
Perfect. I'm sorry, I missed the first 10 minutes looking for the link. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Thank
there
you,
is
Tatiana.
Marika. She raised the hand as well.
Yeah, Marika. Marika, please go ahead.
Very interesting presentation. I would like to ask, what advices do you give your students about to make clear which AI tools they have used, and what are the guidelines do you have in mind, and what you give them? So, because this is one major question also for our master and bachelor students always, and also inside our university, there are slight different argumentation about the usage of these tools. So I'm very interested on your guidelines for that.
So the major guideline is it should be a tool that helps you, and you shouldn't be a slave to it. Yeah, you are the master, and you are responsible for whatever you write or publish so that you have to check everything very well. I say it a million times. As I told you, this doesn't always work. But the guidelines are also for each part. If we're thinking of, how to phrase something, we use certain tools. How to create images. So then there's Napkin, for example, that can create images, scientific flow charts and things like that easily. So then we try that. Is it good, not good? What can you do with it? And we teach each other. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, and do you cite, for example, these tools? Do you give a reference to the tools in the papers which you have used?
We do say, like I said, in many journals today, you have to declare the use of AI, and sometimes they have a little like document that you have to fill out, and you can say what you used it for. So yes, actually, in the last paper we submitted, we had to fill out, and we did. I know that there's still problems. Like a friend said that, she filled it out and then she was rejected because she used AI. They told her she could. She told them she was upfront about it, and yet she got rid. So we're still at the beginning of this new revolution, at this new era. Things are changing, but hopefully soon things will quiet down and there will be more guidelines and things will be much more transparent. But we're still not there yet.
But may I ask you also a following up question? So do you just state that for this paper, for example, AI tools were used, or do you make a complete reference with the prompt of which you have inserted?
So in this paper, we weren't asked to get, the exact prompt because again, it's not the one prompt, it's a whole conversation. But we had to say what we used it for. So we used it to collate the different data. We used it to rephrase the introduction. I can't remember. We used it to get it down to 8,000 words, all the different things that we used it for. So that's what we did. But again, it depends on the journal. So we did, give a reference to the tool itself, what tool, what version, etc. But
you did not, or you did? I didn't.
we
get
did.
it.
We did.
You
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marika. Yes, Irene.
Okay, hello. Thank you very, very much. I'm really jealous of of the course that you have created for your PhD students and your students in general. So I was wondering whether you have similar training for lecturers or senior researchers or professors, so that they can train their students after that.
So thank you.
You train the trainers, I mean.
Thank you for saying that. I know that many times when I give the course, sometimes the PI comes and asks whether they can also attend. So this has happened. The online course is in, lecturers' Moodle sites. So they have access to all this so that all the principles and how I view and how I break down the different sections and the different moves that, and from linguistics, the different moves that are part of each section it's all there. So they can, of course, use it. And I encourage everyone to use it. However, not everyone knows of its existence, even though it lives in their Moodle sites. And Kostas mentioned the Cost Action Project, and part of that is training the PIs and the professors on this, not just AI, but also AI, so that they can then teach their students.
Yes, this is what I mean. How can I guide my students, to use AI in a proper way, let's say. So this is also an issue for us. It's not easy to incorporate AI use in the courses, in the assignments.
Exactly. And how do you evaluate? How do you assess the product?
Yes.
There's standing issues that we're all dealing with, and we're all trying to, come up with solutions and ways to do it better. If we win the cost, then we will have better answers for you. But for example, at the Tel Aviv University last year, at the beginning of the year, some lecturers asked the rector, what are the policies for AI use at our university? And he said, we don't know enough, so I cannot create a policy. So what he did is they created 4 learning communities composed of lecturers from all over campus. One community was for large language classrooms, for example, in the humanities, philosophy, and social sciences that are a lot about writing papers. AI use in quantitative courses, physics, math, engineering, how does it work with them? AI literacy for students, and AI as a teacher's helper. So for 6 months, we worked, each one of us, in our communities, and we investigated things and we tried things out. And then we wrote a report for the university with all of our insights and recommendations of how to deal with the different issues for the different types of courses. But it, I don't know if that really made a huge change within the university. But at least we have some answers when somebody asks.
Okay, thank you. I guess that you have answered my second question. That was about who was the coordinating unit, or which was the coordinating unit, or who was the coordinator of this effort. I mean, this course that you have created for the PhD. Was it under the university's, main? So it was an initiative by the university. This is what I mean.
That's an excellent question. Because again, the falling rates, then they had these PhD courses. And I said, it's wonderful that you have PhD courses, but students start writing and publishing even before. Why don't we do this at the master's level? And then so the rector said, it's way too expensive. We don't have the time. We don't have the money. So create an online course. So I created both the regular courses, and I have teachers under me that teach the course. I coordinated, I created it. And I also created this online course. And just like 6 months ago or something, I added these bots to the course.
So this is for all faculties, for all departments, for the whole university.
Exactly.
It was an initiative by the rectorship, let's say.
Right. So they paid for, the videos that I created and, the things that cost money. They didn't, of course, pay for my time, of course. But yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Let me comment something on this. First of all, 2 things. In Greece, in order to inform my colleague, we don't have doctoral schools. These things happen under the doctoral schools. In Greece still, we have a PhD supervision 1-1. So when the Greek professors, they will accept this change, or the Greek authorities and the Greek government accept that, we should move from the 1-to-1, PhD supervision, that the quality is much lower. That's why our PhD students, in the majority of the case, they don't finish, because no one knows who is doing what. So our proposal is, at least, my proposal to the HMU governance, but it's not my, under my umbrella and under my duties, like the creation of doctoral schools. In the case that we are going to create a doctoral school, then the things are going to be more central for all the things, for courses like this one, and I will come back to this, for the supervision and the training of our professors how to make a PhD supervision. And that's why what, UAS and HMU and Vigo, what they are doing with this BP, this is the first step, in order to move away from the non-flexibility of, the big units. So this school has this kind of motivation. And, if this will not happen, centrally, nothing could happen, and a lot of things can happen, but you cannot impose it. So the big thing here is like to move from 1-to-1 phase to doctoral schools, because they are going to control. They are going to provide courses like this one centrally for everyone. They can fund, they can control, and they can supervise and evaluate the PhD supervision of anyone. And they can provide training there. So we need, a more central unit in order, to move to the next phase. Now, regarding how to teach, when, how to train, the trainers, I will speak again for my country. No one has trained us how to teach, not how teach them how to write the paper, but how to teach. Each one of us, we teach with our instinct. And depend on the instinct and the observation of each one of us, how well we are doing our work. So how to teach them, it's like, comes from your perspective now, individual experiences, how often you publish, how many papers, how many proposals you're writing, but this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is like how to transfer this knowledge and how to direct the people and how to provide feedback. So in this case, again, we lack, as my colleague Irini has mentioned, but again, this is under, if, doctoral schools, they will not happen, centrally, like as a university or like as a national, because this will be national, kind of initiative. Nothing of them will be materialized apart of individuals, let's say, initiative. Yanis, we are finishing the session that I have, and we are going to move to you. Yanis is the next speaker. So now I complete everything. So I will say this, in order to move on. This is a big step to move to doctoral school creation. So, Marika, you still have your raise up. You have more questions?
Yes, thank you very much. One more question. You mentioned the possibility or your course, your Moodle course, and I didn't get it. Have the partners access also to this Moodle course, or is it just for the students?
Partners? What do you mean?
Like we in this webinar.
No, it's a Tel Aviv Moodle only for our students, but also our advisors, faculty, all the lecturers and the students have access to this, but not outside.
But this could be maybe an opportunity to build also a common webinar series or common training for Adina partners, for example, on that. This would, I think it would be appreciated by many people and many professors.
I absolutely agree. That's the purpose, again, of the cost action that we proposed. So hopefully we will get there. But if we don't, then maybe we can, do it by other means.
Yes.
So thank you for throwing out the idea.
And I assume that you will let us know if the cost action is get approved or not, so that we can maybe join also the further steps.
Good. So Kostas will be in charge of that. He has all of our information.
In the Facebook. If it's going to be approved, I will place it in the Facebook.
Yeah.
But we're going to have, I think that we're going to have the answers by May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like this.
May.
And I would like to add, for example, we at KUAS, I'm one of the colleagues who is giving lectures on scientific writing, also on bachelor level. So it's a constant topic. It's constantly important for us. Also at the very beginning of the programs, of the study programs, that students are trained in scientific writing, and we are also obliged to show them possibilities to involve AI tools in their scientific writing. So also to show them what they can use it, how they should avoid, for example, mistakes. So it's an ongoing topic, and also it's not just on the level of PhD supervision, but also at the very beginning of bachelor programs. It's also for us very important. And we have constantly reworked the model on scientific working, and it's also still work in progress because there's so much going on that, and yeah.
Yeah, so, moving target, absolutely, yes. So Kostas, what do we do about the recording? Will somebody else record now in your other meeting?
No, yeah, in the other meeting I will place Yanis to record, but then we have to clear this classroom. The other classrooms will say we continue, and this what we are going to continue. Probably you can say it's like the coiling research kits. So to answer to Marika, a lot of things happens, a lot of information comes, but the information comes and is not distributed. For example, this semester we ran, this is the 15th lecture in coiling research kits. So we inform the students, about the principles, but not the feedback, not the full course, but the principles of a lot of research activities that the students should be trained. One of them is scientific writing. So we had Ron Blonder, who was coming the director of Weizmann Institute. We have editors that, they have participated on how to write and how to review paper, how to submit a proposal. But these are like, individual sessions in order the students to get and capture, some wording, to keep some ideas in order later on to exploit them, leverage them, following the courses, a full course like Monica. Please, mute your microphone. Otherwise, I will mute you. Look at these people. I will find them. Hassan, can you please mute your microphone?
Thank you. Julia, you have a question? And we have time.
Julia, the last one, because I'm not going to ask questions. You neutralize me this session. So, Julia, very fast, your question.
Yeah, no, I will not. I will not raise my question. I just wanted to know whether I can still announce our next session, or whether we have the flight into the next meeting. So
we have the 10 minutes.
Just before you close, remember that that we should announce the next webinar.
Yes, all right. So what I'm going to do, I think that, I kept this on my note, and I think that it's going to be very useful. I will create a coil for staff. So a coil for staff in scientific writing. So I will identify with Monica, people that would have been involved in writing this course. All of them, they are experts in scientific writing, in order to create a series of lectures for staff, in order to train or to give some principles for the staff, in order to be able to transfer this knowledge into the students. So this is what, I'm going to do. But, I think this will happen, in the spring semester, not immediately. But let's start with the nice event that happens and will happen in CUAS, because this is the first step of what we would like to do for doctoral schools, for micro-credentials, for scientific writing and others. Remember, everything is one story. Julia, the floor is yours in order to close this session. The people, you can stay.
I cannot, because I have to run to my train to catch my train. That's another reason why I have to announce it now. Okay. Thank you again, also from my side. It was a great lecture, and I'm also very envious, especially because I didn't have a doctoral school when I was doctoral, when I did my PhD, although it was still, I still managed somehow, and I still learned, but I guess it's good to have a supportive environment that's bigger than one supportive professor, supervisor. So next webinar will take place on the 5th of February, and we will and our guest speaker will be Juan Pablo Herves Peloso. He's the head of the doctoral school of our partner university, University of Vigo in Spain. And as usual, we will send out the link to you in time, and you find information also about Juan Pablo on the website, on our website. So the link that we created.
I prefer to be called Pablo.
Pablo, okay, yeah. Okay, good. I didn't know. You have so many names. I'm sorry.
Yes, we have many names. But people call me Pablo.
Okay,
I lost one.
Okay. Great, Pablo. Okay, so you find information. You find also a link with the director to Pablo's profile, and we are very much looking forward to next time, to Pablo, and also to our audience. And again, thank you, Monica, for this great for your great presentation, and also the discussion, obviously.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Monica, share with me the recording, please.
I will, of course.
Okay, so now if you would like to stay to follow